Thank you so much for coming today, Kristina. Kristina has come from Kent to Leeds, which is basically the whole of the UK, to come and see us. So thank you very, very much. We really
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it. And we're going to start with talking about your diagnosis. So when were you diagnosed with ADHD?
The actual day I was officially diagnosed was 25th of April last year.
Okay, so do you mind telling us what age you were when that happened?
Just trying to think. I was a few weeks off being 63.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually 62, that means.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so what made you think at the age of 62 about getting an ADHD diagnosis?
My daughter.
Right.
Entirely my daughter. I had always had certain traits, characteristics, behaviours, thoughts, patterns, whatever you want to call them, all my life. And my daughter picked up on a lot of these, and she said to me some time ago, actually, "Mum, I think you've got ADHD." And I thought, oh, don't be so stupid. I was a governor in a school years ago, and we had children which were diagnosed with ADHD, and they were the sort of kids who were really unruly and chucked chairs around and stuff like that. And I thought, I'm not like that, come on. So I didn't take any notice, but she kept on saying, "Mum, I really think you should look at this." And she sent me a questionnaire that she'd got from online, and I just, well, it was just such an emotional moment because it was just me. Mm-hmm. It was absolutely, completely me. Mm-hmm. And that was a really surreal moment that somebody had encapsulated my life and my personality and my behaviour traits and everything I thought and felt in this one questionnaire. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And I contacted her and I said, "Emily, I think you're absolutely right. You know, what do I do now?" And she said, "Well, go and see the doctor." And I didn't for a while because I don't know why really. I think partly I was frightened to be diagnosed and partly not, you know, having sort of had this realisation. I thought how disappointing for them to say no, and I've got to start all over again with, well, why do I behave like this then? So I didn't go, and she kept saying, "Mum, have you made that appointment yet?" "No." "Mum, have you made that appointment?" "No." And eventually, "Mum, have you made that appointment?" "Yes." She said, "Oh, well done. So I went, and they didn't know. They hadn't got a clue. They just said, "We'll refer you to the Maudsley," mm-hmm. which is in London, which is, I don't know if it's the place for ADHD in the country, but it's big. Mm-hmm. And I got an appointment there eventually, and they were absolutely useless. I had a terrible experience. I had this letter which said, if you don't make this appointment, it will cost the NHS £1,286 or whatever it was. Failure to turn up will mean this, that and the other. There were lots of threatening things about if you didn't turn up, if you missed your appointment, if you're 5 minutes late, blah, blah, blah. So my husband took me because I was really nervous. And I thought, let's get up really early and go there really early. Because obviously punctuality is not one of my strong points. But anyway, so I had to be ridiculous. If I've got to be somewhere on time, I'll be there 10 hours early. Mm-hmm. You know, like airports, I'm there practically the night before because I can't do late mm-hmm. in those circumstances. So I turned up really early, and we went and had a coffee, and then they said, "No, you haven't got an appointment." I said, "I'm sorry?" They said, "No, you haven't got an appointment." And I said, "Well, what do you mean I haven't got an appointment?" They said, "Well, didn't they tell you it was cancelled?" I said, "No." I said, "Why is it cancelled?" They said, "Oh, well, the psychiatrist who was supposed to be seeing you is on holiday." I went ballistic. Mm-hmm. I was in tears, I was swearing, I was really angry. And I said, "You have sent me this letter with all this threatening stuff saying if you don't turn up, if you're 5 minutes late, and you have the cheek to tell me, I've driven here, my husband's driven here, took 2 hours nearly to get there. Mm-hmm. And you have the cheek to tell me that the psychiatrist is on holiday and you haven't even told me."
Yeah.
I was furious. I went and sat in the car, and he said, "Don't worry, I'll get you an appointment." He said, "If it's the last thing I do, I will get you an appointment today." And he went to the desk and he said, "We're not moving. She's seeing somebody. We haven't done all this and gone through all this," because I first went and saw somebody about a year before that, and it was a long time, and I really wanted to get this done. And eventually a very nice psychiatrist saw me.
Mm-hmm.
He was lovely. I can't fault him. Can't remember his name, but he was lovely. And yeah, he asked me a lot of questions. Actually, I had been there once before because I had been to see a psychiatric nurse,
mm-hmm.
and then she referred me to this guy, and that's when this other appointment didn't happen, but did. And then he gave me the diagnosis on the 25th of April last year, and that was that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was quite a torturous process, and I didn't feel that I had been treated well. And
no.
I thought, there's a lot been said about mental health in this country, and when you've got something like that and you've taken the trouble and got the courage up to come and be diagnosed, and then they basically ignore you, is not good. So that was really awful. And if my husband hadn't been there, I don't think I would have had the strength to carry it through, to be honest. I couldn't have argued like he did. He's very persuasive. Probably quite scary, actually. So that was that. So that was diagnosis.
Mm-hmm. So how long did it take from when you first went to see the GP to getting that diagnosis?
I think it was about 18 months.
Mm-hmm. And was that through the NHS?
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was. Yeah, I haven't paid anything for any of it. Mm-hmm. But that's not an excuse not to...
not to actually see you.
To see
Yeah. Yeah. So when... Were you on the waiting list for a long time, or was it just that there was a big gap between the psychiatric nurse and then the actual doctor?
No, the waiting list wasn't too bad, actually. I was quite impressed with that, I have to say. I did originally have an appointment on the 2nd of January,
mm-hmm.
and then I can't remember why, but I couldn't make it. I can't remember why now.
Mm-hmm.
So I cancelled it, and then they didn't give me one till the 25th of April, because I don't know whether that was probably because I couldn't make it. They might have given me one before that, but I couldn't make it or something. So the nearest one that was mutually convenient was the 25th of April.
Yeah.
But then, of course, I didn't get the report back for some time either. He said that, he told me when I was seeing him, I had about an hour and a half or 2 hours with him or whatever it was, and filled in various things. Mm-hmm. And he told me informally, but I didn't actually get a letter until a while after that.
Yeah. And so was it, I've heard it's mainly questionnaires about your past and things, and then did your husband have to fill in something? Or
Yeah. My daughter filled in things as well. They both they both had to fill in things. Interestingly, though, they filled in slightly different things. It was quite interesting how other people see you. They don't all see you in exactly the same way. Mm-hmm. It's like I think I'm quite good on eye contact. I'm looking at the camera, I'm looking at you. Mm-hmm. I think I'm quite good at that. But my daughter says that I don't give eye contact. That upset me, actually. But so I've tried to be aware. It's difficult, isn't it? Because how much eye contact do you give? If you look at people all the time, you're staring.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're kind of, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I think I'm fine with eye contact. I'm quite happy with my eye contact.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, but my husband, he put, eye contact good. So I don't know, people see different things in you.
Yeah. But they generally agreed.
Yeah,
you had the symptoms.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some of the things they agreed 100% on, which was quite interesting. So they ganged up on me. I had no escape.
Yeah. So, how did you feel about getting that diagnosis?
Relief, actually. It was a massive weight off my mind, actually. All my life I've had certain behaviour traits and thoughts and behaviour patterns, and I don't know, whatever you want to call them, ways of interacting with people, whatever. And they haven't always been compatible with the way one's supposed to live, work and other things like that, responsibilities and what have you. Like, for example, timekeeping, that kind of thing, memory, talking, listening, concentration, all those sort of ADHD type things. But I never put them all together. I just thought I was rubbish at all those things. Sometimes I didn't think I was rubbish, actually. Sometimes I thought, actually, it was fine to be the way I was, and other people were pressuring me, like, get your coat on, we're supposed to be there at 12. And for God's sake, So I used to think, there's nothing wrong with me. If we're 5 minutes late or 10 minutes late, it doesn't matter, and all this stuff. But I always felt this pressure to be a certain way and do certain things at certain times. And then when I got the diagnosis, or when I filled in that questionnaire, as I said, that questionnaire, which was just me, I thought, this is actually a legitimate, recognised set of circumstances. Yeah. Which makes sense, and it made complete sense of the whole of my life, whereas the whole of my life had never made any sense. For 62, nearly 3 years, my life never made sense. Yeah. I never felt I had a proper identity. I'd always been searching for it. Why am I like this? In fact, when I was 30-something or other, I started an open university degree. Well, I finished it as well, amazingly. But I started it then, and I did psychology, funnily enough. And a lot of the reason for that was because I wanted to find out, obviously it's about why people behave and think the way they do, and I wanted to find out why I thought and behaved the way I did. And that did actually help. I found out a lot of things about me, not about ADHD, that didn't come up, but other things. But that's kind of where I'm interested in that started, and that was a real challenge, obviously. I mean, I didn't go to university at the when I was in my 20s, 18, 19, 20, because I couldn't cope with deadlines at school and paperwork and essays and all that. I did well at school, but I'd had enough. It was a struggle. It was a real struggle. So I didn't want to do that anymore. But I managed to do it when I was 36. I thought I would do something. I'd always regretted not going to university, and because with open university, you obviously you do it at home. You're a bit freer. And I did it over 6 years. You do it part time. You can do it full time, 3 years, but I did it part time because I had small children and a job, part time job. But I was always late for my essays, every single one. Luckily, one year I had my tutor lived about 3 miles from me, so I used to literally go around to her house about 4 a.m.
to drop off the essay. Yeah,
it was supposed to have been there like the night before, but she didn't know because she was in bed. So
so it's during the night. Yeah, that counts.
I just pretend. Oh yes, I dropped it at 10 o'clock last night.
Yeah,
obviously before the midnight. That wasn't like 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah. So we could also talk a little bit about medication, because I understand you actually don't take any medication.
Yes, that is true. I don't. That's a bit of a story as well. Going back to the Maudsley again, as I said, I have not the best. I wouldn't give them exactly top marks on the way they've behaved. But they basically passed the responsibility to my doctor, said we don't actually give medication from here. Right. We'll send a report to your doctor. The doctor does it. The doctor got a letter, and I went to see a doctor, and it was a junior doctor who I don't think she was quite new in the surgery. She didn't know anything about it at all. She said, "Oh, well, I'll write to the Maudsley and find." And it bounced backwards. I got fed up with it. I basically just got so fed up with it. I thought, I'm not going to bother. And also, I don't like medication. It frightens me. I'm already taking a couple of very low dose things for high blood pressure and something else. And it frightens me. Yeah. And I don't want to be dependent. I mean, I completely understand people who I've heard some good stories about. Yeah. The good effects that some of these medications can have. But I personally, at the moment anyway, I might change my mind. My daughter keeps saying, "You should try it, Mum. Why don't you just try it?" Well, I may. She's very persuasive, as I said.
She has got you quite far already.
And she's usually right as well. But for the moment, anyway, partly because I don't know who the heck's supposed to be giving it to me, and partly because I'm also on 2 other pills and I don't know what the interaction of those would be. And partly because I've got to 63 without having ADHD medication. I've survived so far. I sort of feel that I'm going to do this thing myself. But I don't know, maybe I do have a lot of constant, I mean, my brain never stops. I don't know where the hyperactivity bit comes in ADHD. I mean, you can see I'm sitting here, I haven't got up and sort of, done a run around the room. I'm not necessarily hyperactive like that. I mean, I sometimes am, but I can sit still, but I don't actually ever sit still. I mean, I fiddle with my fingers all the time, nearly. Mm-hmm. I've done awful things to my hands. I used to pick my face a heck of a lot. I managed not to do that now. I think that's because I've changed to my hands instead. But people say that I'm always doing something. But if it's not my hands or my feet or whatever, twitching, fiddling, then it's my brain.
Yeah.
Which never ever. I mean, that was one of the things on the form about never ever having an on-off. You haven't got an on-off switch. Mm-hmm. I haven't. And Emily said to me, that's my daughter, that this medication, whatever it is, might actually help with that. To sort of, because I have a lot of anxiety mm-hmm. as well. I've been diagnosed with that too, anxiety disorder. Mm-hmm. And the two don't go well together. ADHD and anxiety are just a nightmare couple. Divorce, absolutely all the way, should be, but you can't.
Yeah.
If you've got constant thoughts, like if you cannot switch off, and you've got anxiety, then an awful lot of those thoughts, far too many of those thoughts, are going to be anxious thoughts. And so your whole life is just riddled with anxiety. At least if you've got anxiety and you haven't got ADHD, you might be able to switch them off. Mm-hmm. But I can't switch them off. When they come, and they stay. And if I wake up in the middle of the night, for example, and it's really quiet and there's my husband asleep, sometimes I wake him up. Well, he said that to me now. He said, look, if you want to wake me up, mm-hmm. which is nice of him. But then I feel really bad, of course. But sometimes I have to, because I just feel like literally I'm going to go mad. Mm-hmm. Like I hate it when it's so quiet and it's the middle of the night and I've got all these thoughts racing around in my head and nowhere for them to go. I can't talk to anybody. I can't get up and do anything. Mm-hmm. It's horrendous. It's one of my most anxious times, is waking up in the middle of the night with all these billions of thoughts all going around. And they can be tiny little things to really big things like the world problems.
Let's just stop a minute. I'll get her out of the room.